Tonight we are getting very little information out of Aruba, but take a look at this girl. Absolutely gorgeous, a tourist from Maryland. Apparently last seen snorkeling, but we don't even know if that is true or not. Straight out to Rupa Mikulaneni. Rupa, what can you tell us?
Nancy, this is a shock tonight. We're finding that yet another blonde American, beautiful girl goes missing 6 years later after Natalie Holloway goes missing in the same resort town. Here's what we know. We know that she was with a traveling companion. We know that last Tuesday was the last time she was in touch with her boyfriend back in Bethesda, Maryland. She's from the Maryland area. She's 35 years old. She went traveling. There is some sort of issue between her and her boyfriend. We know she was traveling with a friend. Authorities are being very unclear about whether this is a lover, a boyfriend, a friend, but we know it's a traveling companion, 50-year-old man named Gary Giordano, also from the Maryland area. And we know that he claims they went snorkeling last Tuesday on Baby Beach, just 12 miles away from
Hold on. To Michael Ghast, founder of the National Academy of Police Diving. Michael Ghast, I've dived, I know, maybe close to 300 times. That's a lot different from snorkeling. When you're diving, you're out at sea. When you're snorkeling, you're in more shallow water. How can you get swept out to sea from shallow water?
Well, if you're careless, it could be possible. I just really doubt it. Usually a strong rip current or something might pull you out, but that's only a limited amount of area. Were there any questions about whether she was wearing weights or a weight belt or a wetsuit or anything like that?
It's my understanding she was not wearing a wetsuit, that she was snorkeling in her swimsuit, and that she was not wearing a weight belt.
Yeah, that'd be very difficult to get swept out of sea snorkeling, because once you get to where you're in the water too deep to see to the bottom, you're not going to be snorkeling anymore, first of all. And they should have been together.
Well, I mean, the whole point, Michael Ghast, when you're snorkeling, you've got to be in a position to see. It's got to be shallow, because you can't see down to the bottom, to the sand. You can't see the fish. You can't see what you're looking for. That's why snorkeling is typically done in more shallow water, clear water.
That's absolutely correct. And to be able to be swept out into deeper water in a circumstance like that, apart from a storm or anything, it's virtually impossible.
Let's go straight to Aruba. Joining us tonight, the CEO of Aruba Herald. It is Mark Benson. Thank you very much for being with us. What are you hearing from Aruban authorities about the missing American girl?
Good evening, Nancy, and to your other guests. Well, we have spoken a few minutes ago with the prosecutors here in Aruba. And as you said, there's not much new information that they are willing to disclose at this time. What we do know is that they have put together a special task force of the police, headed by one of the chief of the policemen, and who are working day and night to find a solution to see exactly what has happened to Robin.
Joining me right now, CNN correspondent Martin Savidge. Martin, a lot has been made as to whether the guy she was snorkeling with is a boyfriend, a lover, whatever. The reality is her boyfriend, to my understanding, was back home. And what difference does that make other than Martin Savidge? He may have been the last person to see her.
Well, here's the problem, and as you point out here, there was a boyfriend supposedly at home. Then who is this traveling companion, and what was the relationship that they were having at the time? It is clear that when she left, apparently the conditions under which she was traveling was upsetting to the boyfriend back in Maryland. And from what we have heard, this was a couple now that had met via the internet. And I'm talking about the new relationship, the 50-year-old Gary Giordano. And this is the relationship that authorities now are focusing on here. And one of the things that I've heard from talking to people on the island today is that they found that after he reports her missing, Gary Giordano reports Robin missing, he then, a couple of days later, is getting on a plane back to the United States when he's apprehended. Many folks down on the island, many folks here would say, well, wait a minute, why aren't you staying behind? Why aren't you spearheading the effort to try to find the young lady you were traveling with? Why are you more concerned about going back to the United States? And that is why authorities on the island are beginning to suspect that this whole snorkeling story may not be true. As you point out in many cases here, This baby beach, as it's called, it has that name because it is a beach the locals will say is so calm, the weather's so predictable, you could take your baby there. The idea of some sort of riptide or current that pulled her out to sea, they don't buy it.
Martin Savidge, it's incredibly ironic that this is the same resort area where Natalie Holloway went missing so long ago. Now, at that time, it was, wild horses could not have forced Aruban authorities to go forward with the prosecution of Judge's son, Jorn Vandersloot. But they've taken this American guy straight in and questioned him. But as of right now, his story apparently is still the same, that they went snorkeling, that they were separated, and he thinks she may have gone out to sea. I find that very hard to believe, Martin Savidge.